Ancient medieval texts appear to suggest a sea monster in Norse sagas called the Hafgufa was a whale with an odd way of feeding. The ancient sagas of the Vikings are replete with strange creatures and terrifying monsters. One such creature, called the Hafgufa or sea steamer, may have been a whale that feeds in a way that has modern scientists baffled. In 2021, a social media post showed hundreds of anchovies voluntarily leaping into a whale's gaping maw as it was treading water in the Gulf of Thailand. The whale in the post was a species known as bride's whale, and it was using a technique known as trap or tread water feeding. The odd feeding behaviour was first documented in 2011 in a pair of humpback whales off the west coast of Canada. Erin Sebo, an expert in historic manuscripts at Flinders University, said it was assumed that this was a new technique that whales had just developed. Dr. Sebo's examination of historical texts, which was recently published in the journal Marine Mammal Science, suggests that ancient Norse mariners saw the whale's antics and added them to the tales of the fearsome Hafgufa. She said, although medieval people didn't have our level of knowledge about science, they were actually quite accurate in their descriptions and making good guesses with the information they did have. She added, by finding these descriptions in medieval and ancient manuscripts, we were actually able to give scientists a lot of evidence that they assumed was lost. The Speculum Regale, otherwise known as the Konings Skuggja, or King's Mirror, a 13th century work, features the eponymous king telling his son of several whales that inhabit the sea around Iceland. He concluded with a description of a large whale that he himself feared but doubted anyone would believe him about without actually seeing it. This Hafgufa was described as an island-sized fish that was hardly ever seen but always observed in two places. The king went on to describe Hafgufa's feeding habits. He said the creature would belch partially digested food to make nearby fish swarm around and over its mouth before closing it and eating them all. Another version of the tale is relayed in the 14th century Orvarods saga. In this, the creature is described as the largest sea monster, or Skjoskrimsal of all, which devoured whales, ships and men. According to the saga, the deck officer, Vignir Oddson, said it dwelt underwater but would lift its mouth and nostrils out of the water until unsuspecting ships or sea creatures moved in between, thinking the upper and lower jaws were unconnected rocks. This later story calls to mind the ancient Greek mythology of Scylla and Charybdis. Although the descriptions do not fully match up, they make for an interesting comparison. Scylla, a man-eating, multi-headed sea monster, guards one side of a treacherous strait through which Odysseus must sail. On the other side is Charybdis, a whirlpool that swallows ships. It is also an allegorical reference to the notion of the lesser of two evils, or a dilemma, and the connection with the older civilization does not end there. The first hints of a sea monster that ensnared fish in this way appeared in Greek manuscripts from Egypt in around 300 AD. Dr. Sebo said that until recently the Hafgufa was regarded as a tall tale or scuttlebutt dreamt up by yarn-spinning seafarers. Everybody assumed that it was just so fantastical it couldn't possibly be real, she said. She added, we have been able to demonstrate fairly clearly that it's a whale, and also that medieval people recognised that it was a whale. So far, the bizarre feeding technique has only been seen in humpbacks off the coast of Vancouver and bride's whales in the Gulf of Thailand, as well as in Beibu Bay in China. But the behaviour is becoming more common, experts have said. While only 2 humpbacks used the technique in 2011, it has now been observed in 30 whales off the west coast of Canada. Christy McMillan of the Marine Education and Research Society, which has been monitoring the whales, said, we believe the whales are learning the strategy from each other. Dr. Sebo said one reason scientists might only just be noticing the technique is the decline in whale populations in the 19th century. She said, it really is interesting that ancient and medieval people were seeing enough whales and getting close enough to whales to actually be able to observe this behaviour as accurately as they did, when modern people haven't. So, do you think the findings have identified the mythical Hafgufa? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and most importantly subscribe. And you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.